All right, couple of things here, man. One is we need to get you more horizontally abducted and more counter-rotated with the med ball. So just starting out where you're holding the ball, there's not a lot of counter-rotation here. There's not a lot of horizontal abduction. So horizontal abduction, counter-rotation, it's going to be getting this shoulder more abducted. All right, so if here's your elbow position, be a higher elbow position, and then holding that ball and getting it more pulled back. All right, so just getting this elbow up here, holding that ball a little bit higher, and then you're just going to counter-rotate that trunk, trying to get that trunk farther back. So what you're doing here is you got this forward hip position. You're trying to separate these shoulders as far from that hip as possible. Okay? All right, so when you're landing here to load onto this leg, you watch this front leg, you're going to start kicking this guy out really aggressively, and it's going to pull you out of that good load position. All right, so here you haven't even started to drive yet, and you're completely pulled out of that back leg load. So this would be an ideal back leg load position. From here, you would want to see drive, triple extension, powering that hip through right into front foot strike. All right, but you're just going to let that front foot kick, 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 kick. All right, so now you're pulled out of the load. You haven't started to drive. Then here, you try to drive. You try to kick everything through, but it's just not going to be as much force. This is a loaded position where you've gone from flexion. Now you can drive and push out to create extension. You're just doing it too late. You're letting that front leg dominate. All right, so here's front foot strike. I love this front leg position. That's great. Let me clear that one out, get it a little bit better. We're drawing a line from belt buckle. You can see your chin is getting ahead. All right, so you're a little bit early trunk tilt. You want to keep this trunk a little farther back. Same thing, these shoulders need to be delayed. All right, so your shoulders and hips are coming together, so you're not separating. So this is where, like we talk about, where you need to keep this arm abducted, horizontally abducted, and more counter rotation. So you're delaying those shoulders longer. That's going to be that maximizing hip to shoulder separation. All right, let's go forward. All right, so that's ball release, not extending the front leg, pretty vertical forward trunk tilt. So going to need more extension off this front leg, where that front leg is just slamming, fully extending, and giving yourself better forward trunk tilts right into pitch release. So faster off the front leg. Also, well, the big key takeaways are going to be, got to calm down this front leg swing. All right, so you stay loaded in that drive leg. You start driving and powering this hip forward from a leg drive, not from momentum of the front leg. Horizontally abduct and counter rotate these shoulders better. And then also faster front leg extension and more forward trunk tilt. So all three of those. So this should be an easy fix. This is just in your setup. You got to get better at counter rotating, getting that ball into a better loaded position. This is just it's not a good loaded position, not a good way to leverage your hips and shoulders. All right, man, so let's start with that. Next is going to be the calming down that front side, really just trying to power out of that back leg. You might need to get an ankle weight for that. And then third is just front leg extension and forward trunk tilt, which I have drills for that, the front leg extension drill, which we'll start doing more towards that week 8 mark once you're out of the training that you're in now. Okay, man. All right, here's your overhead throw. So same thing we were seeing with the separation. The front leg is just going to be swinging too much here. All right, so this front leg is kicking, kicking, kicking. You haven't driven yet, so it's pulling you. You start out in a good load position. You just got to start driving from this back leg. But you're just kicking, 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 letting the front leg kind of dominate the movement. all right, and you still haven't drove yet, and you're about to go into front foot contact. And also too, the forward trunk tilt, we draw a line down the middle of the body. Chin is getting slightly ahead of the belt buckle, so keeping your weight, your trunk back on this one is going to be important as well. All right, as we hit into front foot, good front leg position, the extension, just not getting any extension, and really just kind of ripping down with the arms. There's no forward trunk tilt. All right, so the trunk isn't traveling forward, the arms aren't delaying and then releasing the ball. You're just kind of pulling down with the arms. So again, we got to get better at calming down this front leg. Can't get this front leg kicking out. So we'll go through a few more of this. If this continues to be a persistent issue, I might have you go on Amazon and pick up some 10-pound ankle weights. They're not too expensive. We're going to have to strap that leg down to kind of start trying to kill that motor pattern that you've created. 2, keep the trunk back. All right, keep your trunk farther back. Keep the arms farther back. Don't keep this ball just right overhead. Try to get that ball back. Try to keep your chin back. Keep your weight, everything back. You want this hip to be powering everything forward. All right, the more dynamic you get out of that back hip while delaying the trunk, the more energy is going to be hitting this front leg that can then catapult forward. So once this front leg hits and this weight is farther back, now when you stabilize, extend this leg, that trunk goes from this position to launching forward. All right, so you have all this range right here for your trunk to travel and then release the ball. So that's going to allow your muscles to put as much force on that ball as possible. So you're hitting, you're not getting that front leg extension, and then that trunk isn't traveling at all. You're just ripping it down with your arms. So this would be throwing the ball with all arms. So just really need to get better at driving out of the back leg, stabilizing, extending the front leg, and using the legs to influence the trunk. As the trunk travels, the arms are laying into external rotation, and then it all releases at that last second. That's how you build kinetic energy through your body to throw the ball, not just throwing the ball by pulling the arms down. All right, so definite things to work on. Keep really focusing on trying to power that back leg. Keep your weight back. More front leg extension. More forward trunk tilt.